let's just start with I thought it was an act of terrorism, what we watched in that church on Sunday. I don't call it a protest. It wasn't a riot exactly. It was more of like an act of terrorism targeting innocent people minding their own business who had done nothing wrong and trying to scare them. Yep, there's a little bit of it. Even Don Lemon admits on the tape that he saw little children frightened and scared, didn't care. Neither did the protesters who clearly wanted to scare the people there. And what we heard Kristi Noem say last night on Fox, Mike, or no, it was on maybe Newsmax, was you're going to see arrests within hours. Now, before I officially toss it to you, a lot of people saying they're taking too long. Pam Bondi, Harmeet runs civil rights. Pam Bondi is, of course, the overall AG. It's taking too long. But when you're in federal court, when you're the DOJ, you have to bring charges with a criminal complaint and a warrant, and that requires a judge's signature. This happened on Sunday. Courts are closed. Monday, courts were closed because of MLK Day, which gives them Tuesday to possibly get all this stuff ready, cross all the T's and dot the I's, because this is going to be challenged and scrutinized, and there's going to be 10,000 ACLU type groups looking to poke holes in whatever they file. So it is important that they be very careful here. But I think today's the day, Wednesday, that we'll probably see arrests. And if not today, then tomorrow. You take it from there, Mike Davis, because I have a feeling you're more in the loop than I am.
Well, I think that Attorney General Pam Bondi and Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon, along with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, FBI Director Kash Patel, they have all made it crystal clear that people who terrorize church services, people who trespass into Sunday services, disrupt the service, they're going to face federal criminal charges. And there are two federal statutes that are directly on point here. There's the Federal FACE Act, passed in 1994 by Bill Clinton to protect both abortion clinics from obstruction, and as a compromise for Republicans to get the 60 votes to get this passed in the Senate, they also passed the FACE Act to include houses of worship. So that is a federal crime to obstruct churches, to obstruct synagogues and mosques. And it's very clear that that's what Don Lemon and his co-conspirators, his modern-day Klansmen, did when they went into this Minnesota church and disrupted the service. Don Lemon actually went up to the pulpit and disrupted the pastor during the middle of the service. This is a slam dunk Facebook Act violation. It's also a violation of the Ku Klux Klan statute, 18 U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights, when you have a mob of people going into churches to disrupt the churches because of their Christian faith, because of their race. And Don Lemon made it very clear in his so-called reporting. That's why he did it. That's why his co-conspirators did it. He's also going to face charges under the Klan statute. I'm with you, Megyn. I wish that Don Lemon would have been charged under the Klan statutes on MLK Day. It would have been so rich, but the grand juries are not in service on federal holidays.
Yes. So we looked into it, and it does appear to me, Dave, that the likely charges coming are going to be exactly what Mike just said. It's not just going to be the FACE Act. It's not just going to be the KLAN Act. It's going to be both. And if you charge both, then you have the effect of basically raising the FACE Act from a misdemeanor to a felony. If you use the KLAN Act, you can charge a felony. And there was just case law out of the 11th Circuit, which oversees where you are, down in Florida. This, of course, happened in Minneapolis, but it's persuasive, and it's not binding out of the 11th Circuit over Minnesota, but it's persuasive, saying that the violation of rights under the KLAN Act can be, like you can charge somebody with violation of rights under the KLAN Act if they have violated the FACE Act. So if they have obstructed physically or intimidated anyone attending a religious service, that can be the predicate violation for a violation of the KLAN Act, which raises what would otherwise be a misdemeanor to a felony, potentially up to 10 years in jail. I mean, no one is really expecting that to be the penalty, but it does make this a lot more serious than a misdemeanor, which could be more of a slap on the wrist. Your thoughts on it?
Megyn, good to be back with you and Mike. And thank you, by the way, for your nice words. I heard them on a previous show about me, that I'm one of the good liberals, although I don't consider myself a liberal, sort of a centrist, but I appreciate the nice words. Thank you.
All heartfelt.
Thank you. Well, I disagree with my friend Mike. I know that surprised you, but when it comes to the Ku Klux Klan Act, and then we can talk about the FACE Act, but the Ku Klux Klan Act has to face the Supreme Court decision from 1983. It's called Bray versus Alexandria Women's Health Clinic. The issue is you have to show that they blocked the church because they had animus towards Christians. And Justice Scalia was the one who wrote for the majority in that opinion. He said that the opposition to abortion, this was an abortion clinic case, opposition to abortion did not equate to animus against women. So the Ku Klux Klan Act did not apply. The protesters targeted women only because they were the ones obtaining abortions. The goal was to stop the activity, not to hurt the class. So if you apply that here, that the reason why they were there was not because they hated Christians, because they went after David Easterwood. He is the pastor of that church, who is also an ICE guy. He's like high up somehow in ICE in that area. If Easterwood had been on a golf course, they would have protested there. So I don't think you can show the animus against Christians there. I think that the Ku Klux Klan Act does not apply. You could have trespass, you could have disorderly conduct, but I don't think there's a federal crime. You definitely have
trespass.
Yeah, and I agree.
You have trespass.
Right.
Dead to rights, but that's a state crime,
right,
and we probably aren't going to see a state prosecutor that wants to pursue it. So we have to stay in federal lane if we actually want to get these folks charged. A new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you decide to talk to somebody from Birch Gold Group? You know, you've been thinking about it. They use an educated approach with a deep understanding of macroeconomics. There are forces pushing the dollar lower right now and gold higher, which is why they believe every American should own physical gold. So until January 30th, if you are a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you are still eligible for a rebate of up to $10,000. Consider making right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy by January 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 and claim your eligibility today. Again, text MK to 989898 now. Mike Davis, this is an interesting argument, though, about is there animus by the protesters, so-called, against the church? I know you've raised this. Their number one protester, Don Lemon, seems to have served Pam Bondi up a beautiful dessert on a silver platter here with the following comments because he can't keep his stupid mouth shut. He decided to go talk all about his great feat on the Angry Leftist Ladies podcast and said a couple of things about these churchgoers. I'm going to play 31 and 32. Listen.
Jesus turned the tables over in the temple, right? He flipped the tables because he was tired of them, not doing what they're supposed to do in his Father's house and not living up to the tenets of Christianity. And so, it is surprising to me if it is true that this person somehow works for ICE. And also it is true that they're not understanding now of the protesters is that they're doing the exact opposite of what Christianity is supposed to be about. I think that there is obviously there's racism in it. The whole point of it is that they're detaining people on the streets because of accents in the color of their skin, and they're also targeting people of color and black people as well as brown people. So there is a certain degree of racism there, and there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic.
Okay, Mike, thoughts?
Don Lemon is probably the dumbest person on television right now. He just admitted to his criminal intent under the KLAN statute when he made it very clear that they were going into that church because they are Christians, A, and B, because they're white Christians. So you have religious bigotry and racial bigotry, which makes this fall squarely into the KLAN statute. Don Lemon, he is. If I were a betting man, I would put everything on the line that Don Lemon will be indicted under the FACE Act and the KLAN statute under felony charges. Now, remember, under the FACE Act as well, it is a Class A misdemeanor, up to 1 year in jail for first-time offenders. But if there is repeat offenders or if there is violence as part of the FACE Act violation, it becomes a felony. So he could face 2 felony charges if you are threatening people inside the church like they did. You saw the terrified child. I don't think any jury is going to be...
Does he have to do it, Mike? Does he have to do the threatening?
No, it's part of the conspiracy. Everyone who's involved with the conspiracy is responsible for the conspiracy. So I think Don Lemon is totally screwed here. He's the non-lawyer, non-attorney. Don Lemon is going out there telling people what the law is. He's trying to cover his ass. It's not going to work. Pam Bondi and Harmeet Dillon are almost certainly going to indict him.
He did something very dumb, Dave, and it was the same thing that Timothy Busfield did. He spoke out about his alleged crime in a way that no lawyer would have wanted him to. Timothy Busfield spoke directly to police and made a bunch of admissions that came back in his face yesterday. And Don Lemon, speaking with the angry lady, made a bunch of admissions there about targeting these churchgoers for a specific reason, that they're doing the exact opposite of Christianity, that he believes they target people of color, they're racists, they're white supremacists, they have a sense of entitlement, that they don't practice Christianity the way I practice Christianity. That's what he actually said on camera. I mean, it went on and on. He like, it's not enough to say he tripled down. He like quintupled down on this messaging, which is not great for his defense lawyer.
Well, I watched the interviews that he had on his channel, and he was showing people on both sides of this debate. And I didn't get that he was anti-Christian. He may have said they have a different interpretation of the religion as I do. But Justice Scalia himself said that protesting an activity like ICE enforcement is not the same as hating a class of people. They were chanting slogans like justice. They were chanting slogans like ICE out. They weren't chanting anti-Christian slogans. So I don't think they can get there on this. In fact, to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt, the one thing I agree with Mike is that I do think that they'll all be indicted, because we saw this with the Trump administration going after James Comey and Letitia James, but I think he'll meet the same fate where he'll get dismissed before it ever gets to a jury. One last thing on this.
Just for Don,
yeah.
just to be clear, are you talking about just for Don, or you're saying all the protesters? There's no criminal charges against all the protesters.
I think against Don, it's weaker than the others because he is a journalist. I think the others, I think they'll all be charged, but I don't think you can get the federal crimes here. I think they could be convicted of trespass and disorderly conduct. But those are low-level misdemeanors. You're right. They're state charges, not federal charges. I don't see them being convicted of either the KKK Act or the FACE Act, which is what we mentioned earlier, which is supposed to protect houses of worship, because also they didn't block people from leaving. They were chanting. They were really made people uncomfortable. But the standard is in the 8th Circuit, which is a conservative circuit, that you got to block people from leaving. It's like chaining yourself to an abortion clinic. That's a no-no. Chanting outside of abortion clinic, that's free speech.
No.
Okay, just so we know what the statute says. I'm going to give it to you, Mike, but let me just read the statute in part. The FACE Act, 18 U.S. Code, Section 248. Whoever, by force or threat of force or by physical obstruction, intentionally injures, intimidates, or interferes with, or attempts by, again, this is by force or threat of force or physical obstruction. You can do it by any one of those means. You can use force against the people. You can threaten to use force against them, or by physical obstruction. If you do by any of those means, if you attempt to intimidate, injure, or interfere with any person who is trying to exercise their First Amendment right of religious freedom, you're done. You're guilty. So that's the question. Did they, by force, by threat of force, or by physical obstruction, intimidate, or interfere with someone exercising their First Amendment right of religious freedom. I mean, Mike, to me, that is so clear. It's so clearly a yes.
It's crystal clear.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.